What if I tell you that the life that you're dreaming about, this can become your reality? You want to live your dream life? You want to enjoy your dream life? You need to work for it. It's not going to happen to you. You need to have the steps and follow the steps. Actionable plan. Enjoying working in a cafe in Sao Paulo, building and starting your career in Tokyo, or having a new fresh start in Amsterdam. This is not only a dream, this can become your reality. I'm a corporate lawyer in Amsterdam, and I've been living over the past 10 years in multiple countries, and I've been learning multiple languages. And on this video, I really want to share with you the framework, the proven strategy that I've used to basically plan, design, build, and enjoy my dream life abroad. Let's get started. A framework that I've used to go from a small girl living in the island in the Indian Ocean to live across multiple countries and building my dream life. Because I've planned, I designed, I built, and of course I enjoyed. Nobody tells you about moving abroad is that if you don't come with a very well prepared plan, there is some chance that you can move abroad, but also that you fail to really enjoy that move and you might just go back to the start. So if you don't want to do that mistakes, I will share with you my framework that is really going to help you not only build the move and how to move, but also how to create the whole dream life around that move abroad. So today we're gonna go through this whole dream life cycle development. So I use the kind of same strategy as you would do for product life cycle development. And today we will cover the entire process. This is the blueprint to build and enjoy your dream life. I will provide with you a step-by-step guide and walk through the different steps that you can do to create it and build that dream life. Phase number 1, the planning. So when we talk about planning, we are really talking about building the foundation and understanding exactly what is the vision, what do you want to accomplish, but also trying to find the business problem being the problem that you have and that you want to solve. And the problem that you have and that you want to solve is that you want to create your dream life abroad. So this is a specifically blueprint for people that want to build their dream life abroad. So the first step is to understand where you're starting from and to where you want to go. And using this method that I call the Readiness Assessment, we're going to go through the different steps to understand what you have and what are the potential gaps. This is what I call a mitigation plan, which is actually a plan on how to fill in the gap of what you have right now and what you need to have your dream life. The first one in this Readiness Assessment is to have an experience audit. What is an experience audit? An experience audit is you asking the question of what you have done before and what you have experience doing. For example, have you studied abroad? It is different than working abroad. Have you traveled abroad? Have you stayed longer than a week abroad? Have you done those steps that, okay, you're confident enough to be able to do that? What is the longest time that you've been away from your family? This is part of the experience, but also from your group of friends, from your home city. If you've never moved abroad, those are things to consider when you're moving abroad. So maybe if you're really fearful of that, instead of moving on the other side of the world, you can just decide to move 2 countries away. That's all the things that you're gonna basically write in your experience audit. How experienced you are. But it is important to note that even if you have zero experience, but you are going for it, don't let that stopping you. Because I went from my island directly to France, and after I moved again, and it is more than 10,000 kilometer away, and it's 11-hour flight. But I did it, right? So don't let that stopping you. Even if you've never done it, but you feel like, okay, you're confident enough, this is what you want and this is what you're going to do, just do it. Don't worry. Second step is your resource inventory. You really have to understand the financial aspect of it, but also the logistic aspect. What do you have in your house, in your bank account? What do you have that's going to help you really move. And when I talk resources, I'm also talking about human resources. Maybe you have that good friend that live abroad. And it might not be the dream country that you want to move in, but it might be a first stepping stone if you've never lived abroad. And then you move abroad, or you have a friend there, maybe you have a family member somewhere. So when we're doing the inventory resources, really go in depth. For me, I had an aunt that she was living in Paris, and this is what I use as my stepping stone. And really, those are like resources are very valuable, especially for the first move if you're really scared, right? Another important aspect in the resource is that are you speaking the language that in the country that you're going to move in? It's very important because if English is sufficient, then you might not have the issue. Or if you speak the local language, like you speak French and you move to a French speaking country, that might be good enough. But if you're moving in a country that, let's say Japan, and that you don't speak any Japanese and you have never lived abroad, you have to take that into consideration that this is a resources that you're lacking if you don't know Japanese. And if on top of that, in their experience audit that you've never lived abroad, those are things that you have to take in consideration. Those are potential gaps that you might have to fill or not, but you have to be aware of what are almost like the risk. It's like almost like an impact assessment, a risk assessment. The third point is that you have to do a motivation deep dive. How much do you want this? Is this your dream forever? That has been my dream forever. And that's why I have 10 years abroad and I'm not planning on moving back home. Is it just something that you want to experience? So maybe you want to do it just for 1 year and then you have your life together and then you know you want to come back. So those are very important when you're going to plan on how hard and how fast you want the plan to move ahead. I think you have to really make a difference between maybe you want to have a gap of a few months, let's say 3, 4 months. You don't necessarily want to move abroad for long term, but you want to just have this experience abroad. And that's when you can later on look at different options. Maybe have a work placement or have a project where you need to work abroad for a certain time. Or if you're still a student, maybe that's best time to do like a semester abroad, right? Those are different aspects that will be really important later on to understand what is the reason you want, what do you want to experience abroad? What do you really want to have in building your dream life? That video is specifically for people that want to go long-term abroad, but this is also applicable for people that they want to do 6 months, a year. Because also when you're moving abroad, you don't really know like how long you're gonna stay. You're like planning for the best sometimes. Sometimes you plan not to stay long, but you end up staying a very long time. And that's the case for me. But it's important that if you want to move abroad for more than 6 months, then you can really use that plan, that blueprint fully. If you want to move for a shorter period of time, you can use a snippet of it, but it's going to still be very useful. Now, in the last step of this readiness assessment, you need to check right now, as of today, what are the constraints that you have. Constraint can be monetary constraint, can also be work constraint. So for example, some people love their job and they don't want to quit their job, but they want to have this experience abroad. And that is a constraint that either they can ask for having a sabbatical year with their company, and some company are open to do that, but they can also decide to go the road of, stopping their work for like a few months, or they can decide like to negotiate with their company to get a transfer for a certain amount of time. So it is very important to understand that, but also to understand maybe commitment that you have back home. If you're living with your family, do you have any commitment with that? Is there commitment that you can shift? For example, if you're in charge of a local community and then if you're away for a certain amount of time, is that fine? Can someone take over? And also, if you really like that, are you able to get it back when you come back? Those are really constraint points that you need to evaluate what is the best solution. And another thing that I like to add in this constraint, because it is really a readiness assessment, is how ready you think you are. We're going to really go into details, but you also want to know what is the time frame, right? Like how long before you want to go? Do you give yourself a deadline? I try to do that always, give myself a deadline between like half a year to 2 years. That's like usually the deadline that I give myself to be really prepared. Those are very important aspects. I'm really thinking of making either a Notion template or like a Excel or Word template for people that will be really interested in making this readiness assessment, but also the planning and the life design. So yeah, that's something I'm considering. Like, I'm just now doing the video and I'm not sure by the time I post it if I will do it or not. If I have it, I will link down below the document. So this section is specifically for people that want to build their dream life abroad. Obviously, that blueprint can be used for anybody they want to build their dream life. It doesn't have to be your dream life abroad, but this is specifically designed and catered for people that really want to move abroad or to move from one country to another one. So in that section, we will look at where you want to go and also what are the specific restriction or like advantages and cons of moving in that specific place, but also where, how long, and when you want to move. We already assessed that a little bit in the readiness assessment, but now in the destination assessment, we really have a short list, right? Some people, they will completely skip that part because they know exactly where they want to go, why they want to go. So you can skip that part if that's you. But if you're open to multiple destinations, that is a really good exercise to go through. So I use a method that I call the 3 cycle important choice. Number one is lifestyle. Because obviously there is multiple reasons why you move in a country, but if you move to a new country, you're going to also live in that new country. So you have to take into consideration multiple factors. The language, what is the culture, what is the type of food that is readily available there. If you're someone that like really tropical fruits and then you're moving to a Nordic country, that might not be the best option. But also if you're someone that really hate sunny and really warm weather, if you move to Singapore, that might be a bit difficult, right? So you need to look at all of those different aspects in terms of the lifestyle that you're going to have there, but think also about the cost of living because that's going to impact the other aspect of like how much you need to have a decent life. I would even say a comfortable life in the country that you want to move. So aspect number 2 is career slash money. So in that section, you would really look at what are the job market that there is in the country you want to move in, and you will also analyze your profile. So if you're a student and then you're moving as a student but you want to live there in long term, you should also have a look at what are the perspective of working in this country as a graduate, like finding a job as a graduate. So here you really look as a bigger picture of what is the job market, what are the visas, is it like easily accessible for people like you? They're moving from that specific country to that specific country. You can also decide to go through the road of you want to build your own business. Is there a community of people that can help you? Is there a network? Some people want to do freelance. Is that something that's possible? So don't forget to combine that with the first circle, which is the lifestyle, because the lifestyle is going to give you also an idea of what is the cost of living. And then depending on what type of job you want to do or how you want to finance that, that might correlate or not. Then the last circle for me, it's personal. It kind of group a lot of things. Personal can be like how many people do you know in that country, or how many leverage can you get in that country because maybe you speak the language, so you will have certain road that you can go through. But it can also be your own choice, right? A lot of people, for example, they want to move to Japan because they really love the Japanese culture, the anime culture, the otaku culture. Those are valid reason to move, because when you're gonna feel like, oh my god, like it's so hard to save money to move, or I'm already in the country, oh, it is super cold right now, you will have to really love that country to want to stick with it, or you really need to have a deeper reason to stay if you just don't like certain aspect of the life there. I would say the best place is when those 3 circles combine, and that can give you like, okay, certain aspect of, okay, this place are the place that I want to live. And don't forget as well that you need to choose in terms of like your preferences. Do you like big city? Do you like more like countryside? Do you like to be in a city that is very like a town, so that people and you have like easily accessible third place? Or you're more like a city girl like me? Yeah, I'm a city girl. I just like to live in big cities. Yeah. So I always make the choice of living in bigger cities rather than smaller. It happened to me as well that living in smaller city, I've lived once in a place that was not the capital out of the country that I've lived, and it was just because they didn't have other option. This is when I was studying in the UK. But yeah, other than that, really catered everything towards you're designing your life right now. You're in the planning phase. You're really planning everything. So you need to make it as you dream life. We're not just you can have a temporary kind of like move, but we really want to work on where you want to live. And that better be a dream. So now that you have selected a few countries, or maybe you already have this in mind, it's important to do a reality check. When you do a reality check, you are gonna look at how easy it is to move in that country. Nothing should stop you unless you want to move to North Korea. Maybe that's gonna be difficult, but even that, some people can do that. The idea is that you're gonna look at all of the other options that you have to move in that country. And those options can also be like, let's first start on a student visa if you want to study a language. But it can also be like you want a work visa, so then you need to find a sponsor. Look at the different options, and I always recommend you to have different bullet point of this is option one, like backup plan A, B, C, D. Like as much as backup plan you can have, just take them. And if you have multiple countries, have multiple backup plan for each countries. That really help. If you're European in the EU and you want to move to another EU country, you don't have to worry about that. So that's really something that has been like helpful with me because that's what has happened. So now you have your readiness assessment, you have your free cycle, and you also have your reality check. What you are going to build now is you're going to have a small summary of what is the plan, like when do you want to move, like 6 to 1 or 2 years. That's the idea. You want to move there, either there or there, how to do what. This is what you want to do there. And basically, you will see later, but we will start to give like a rough estimate. Okay, to do that, I need to have those bigger hurdle out of the way. So maybe if I need to move there, I need to find a job because I'm a career goal. Or if I need to move there and I want to work remotely, I need to build my freelance business beforehand. Or I want to take a gap year, I need to have a fund. Like maybe you don't know how much it is yet because we didn't went into the nitty gritty of designing the move. But now you just know, okay, this is what I need, like in how long. And this is where I'm going. So now you've done the phase number one, which is planning. So now that you have planned and you know exactly what, where, when do you want to move, or what is the frame, like the time frame that you want to move, you're gonna design that moving plan. To do this, however, I really recommend you to go through a whole total life planning. To do that, I will show you 3 different methods. I've used 2 of them, and recently I am also trying the third method. And I think each of them has a different aspect or different way of functioning that can work really well with different people. So basically, in the design phase, what we want to do is that we want to turn our big goal into sub goal. So this is like a long-term goal that will in turn turn into kind of project or project goal oriented. And it might be very difficult to do that. It is not moving abroad is not one aspect. Moving abroad will touch different aspects. It will touch your finance, it will touch your career, it will touch your family, it will also touch maybe your lifestyle, it will touch different aspects. So you really have to think about that in a holistic way. And the method that I'm going to show with you that I've used are all holistic in essence because it's very difficult to just segregate moving abroad as okay, that is the task list, because this list will be related to so many things. Your whole life is going to turn upside down, so you better be prepared to have your whole life basically change. Before going all through that, I would recommend you to look at a 10-year perspective. Even if you want to move in a year or 6 months, I recommend you to have a vision of who you want to be in 10 years. I always have identity built first before going into detail of what are the objectives that I have. So let's imagine I have a 10-year plan and I say in 10 years, I'm going to stay abroad. And I will have, for example, I will be a pole dance teacher on the side. I will have my business in this industry, and I will own a house in my island back home. Those are the bigger picture of who I'm going to be. I'm going to be that person. I'm going to be married. I'm going to have kids. And those things are very essential when you're planning, because what we're going to do is we're going to reverse engineer the goal of moving abroad. And that goal is going to be in this long-term goal. It is definitely a mid-term goal or even short-term goal, but we want to make sure that we are planning for enjoying life long-term. The last part of this, really like how to live your life and enjoy your life. But really what we want to do is that we want to build that long-term by reverse engineering everything. Method number one that you can use if you're not so comfortable with the 10-year approach. I think 10 year might be a lot for some people that really don't know what they want to do tomorrow. So you can start with the wheel of life. I think I will insert some graphic or some sort of design to show you what it is. I have myself done this one, and this is the foundation that I used to build the second one, which was the 10-year plan. I initially started with the 10 section of the wheel of life. So different one has different aspects. Some have, like, for example, romance, sex, learning, creativity. So you finance, health, friends. So you really have different ones, fun and creativity. So I would recommend you to pick which is your favorite wheel of life. Pick it and do an assessment. This is how much I feel satisfied in my life. This is how much I feel satisfied. And for each of the different section, you're gonna write what are the things that's gonna make you happier. And that is also where you're gonna write, okay, moving abroad is gonna make me happier. Doing that is gonna make me happier. From there on, you're gonna look at the different aspects that you need that are related to moving abroad. For example, like building a really group of close friends. Those are important. So those are things that you can already think ahead. So designing that life is gonna really help you what's gonna be your dream life, because you're gonna, with this wheel, gonna look at each different aspect and look into the perspective of when you're gonna move abroad, when you're gonna live abroad, what do you want to achieve in each of them? You want to, in terms of career, you're a student, and your dream is that in career and finance is that I want to earn that much money with my job. So knowing that, you're gonna look in the country that you want to move in, what like are the position with your profile that you can have and that you can potentially get, or maybe what are the experience that you need to get those profession. So those are a light version in a way of the designing phase. What I think is really important is to use the second method, which is the 10-year plan. With the 10-year plan, what you're gonna do is that you're gonna break down each aspect and you're gonna really put everything that you think that you want to achieve. And you're gonna, for each of them, have in 10 years what you want to achieve, and then break it down in 5 years, what do you want to achieve? And that would really help you. You're gonna put it in a table and have 10 years, I wanna achieve that. To achieve that, in 5 years, I need to achieve that. Those will be the kind of bigger goal, the arching goal. In detail, you're gonna look at each of them as that you're gonna be like, okay, in let's say we're 2025, so in 2035 this is the goal, in 2030 this is the goal. So now once you have done that for all of the different aspects that we've mentioned, you're gonna take just the 5-year period, because we're not gonna for now look at the 10 years. We're just gonna take the first layer of 5 years, and within this 5 years you're gonna break down every year what do you want to achieve. This is how I've done it. You just break down everything. It's okay, every year this is what I want to achieve, this. So every year you would be able to track. I'm gonna then after link this with how I build my vision board and how I do quarterly review. But basically this is what you do. You have a 5-year plan that is linked and that is gonna build and help you achieve your 10-year plans for each section really, and you divide them in sub goal. You kind of use like the reverse engineering smart goal where you divide it per year, and I would recommend every quarter, so every 3 months, to have sub goals that all accumulate to achieve that bigger goal. So you want to move, let's say you want to move to Costa Rica in about a year. And right now you are thinking, okay, in terms of relationship and community, you want to be able to talk to the local. This is one of your goals in 5 years. But in order to do that, you need to speak Spanish. So you're building that year plans of like in 5 years, I'm able to completely integrate in Spanish and then fully speak in Spanish. So what you're going to do is that you're going to divide that goal, and maybe what you have already for now until 1 year, so until you move to Spain, is that you're going to reach like a B1 level. Like it's very doable. You're going to reach a B1 level. So that's like your year one plan. Your year two plan is going to be, I want to reach B2 level, right? And year three, you're gonna be like, oh, maybe I wanna have a job fully in Spanish. So you're gonna divide that until you reach that kind of initial goal of the midterm goal. And I really recommend you, once you have that 1 year goal, go back and look at what you can do every quarter to help you achieve that goal. And you're gonna do that every aspect of your life. Nothing's gonna be out of it. Like you're really gonna go there, and for every aspect, like financial, career, health, fitness, whatever you want, like learning, education, whatever you want, it's gonna be divided. Certain things are a little bit out of control. Okay, if you want to get married and then you don't have a partner, that's gonna be a little bit more difficult. But what you can do, what is in your control, is that you can be like, okay, I want to meet people organically. What's I'm gonna do for that? Oh, I'm gonna do more activities. I'm gonna find communities where I can join. I'm gonna find hangout place that I can stay and talk to people. So you're really building that bigger picture. Then what you're gonna do, this is something that I'm just starting out, is that I start to try the method, which is the whole method of self-reliance, is that you use yourself as becoming the best of who you can be. And for that, you have a big goal, and this goal is divided in different categories. I'll put a picture. So the Harada method is you have 8 goals, and each of those 8 goals are divided again in 8 sub goals, which is actually going to be like almost like a task. And what you're going to do is that each goal, they will be related to one task. Let's imagine one of your areas is finance, is that you want really, when you move, is that you want to really have enough money, have quite a secure bag. So what you're going to do, you're going to put, this is one area, finance. You just don't put finance. You put exactly what you want. It can be that I live a comfortable life in this country by having that much money, right? So what that can mean, you really have to quantify it, right? So it can mean that all of the sub goal that you have is that, oh, daily I save, because if you want to have that much money when you leave, it's like I save that much money every week. So every week you're gonna look at your bigger Rada method plan, and you're gonna see whether you've achieved that every week. Another things can be like, oh, I'm gonna learn about financial literacy because I know nothing about financial literacy. So this is another goal. Maybe you put there, read 4 books per year about financial literacy. So those are subtasks that is going to help you one area, and this one area is going to help you have basically the main goal. So the main goal is moving abroad within this time frame, and then you divide them in 8 areas like financial, career, administrative. If you need to move to a country that has a lot of paperwork to be done, and maybe paperwork to be done in advance, finding housing, finding scholarship, those are things that you will need to plan. And if you don't have a place when you can look at all of those goals that you have, it will be very difficult to move ahead. So in this phase, it is very difficult at first to do this exercise, but you really have to go through, what is my goal? What is the sub goal? You have different ways to do it. Like I've showed you, you can have like per the wheel of life, you can have your 10-year plan a little bit based on the wheel of life. You can use different methods. Those are like only 3 that I recommended because it has really helped me to have a direction. So If you have already the goals now, what's going to help you is going to be divided those in terms of target to achieve. You're really working as if you're working for like a project planning or even for your own company. Your company is your project that you want to launch is you moving abroad, right? So what you want to do is that for those goals, you really have to quantify them. Really the SMART method, right? It's the SMART goal setting. It is specific, it is measurable, it is achievable, it is relevant, and also it is time. So you're gonna really put a time to it. In this one, I really recommend think in the design as the logistic aspect and of the financial aspect. Those gonna be the biggest hurdle that you have to go through, because even if you find a job abroad, you will need an upfront payment a lot of time for the house, like a deposit, maybe 1 or 2 months in advance. So you have to nail the financial one. How much do you need to move abroad, and how much do you need to maintain your life for how much time if you don't have a job or something like that? That's number one. And number two is what are the logistic aspects of it? Like how you're gonna get there, how you're gonna get all your stuff there, where you're gonna live in terms of the neighborhood, how you're gonna find housing, how you're gonna get the visa sorted. Do you have your passport in order? Do you have a bank account that you can use temporarily while you're there? You need to have a really overview of that. So when you're doing your planning, those are the foundation. Obviously, looking at things like friends that you can already meet in that country is important. But if you don't have the money nor the logistic that you should do to go through it, you're not gonna move. So really prioritize what is most important and urgent. Most important and urgent is financial and logistic. That's it. Once you have the financial and logistic like on the way, then you can focus on other aspect like the human resource. Okay, what are the people that you can meet or you already know? Is there people that you can go and network with? Or also, if you have online community, can you already join and see a little bit like how it is? And maybe you can find already group and network that you can sign up when you join. Those are things that you can look at and then you can plan in your design phase. Some, for example, network will have membership fees, but that is something that you can add to your calculation of how much as a starter pack that you need to move in that country. A few other things that you can do in the design phase, but that I mentioned as well in the goal setting, is that you can start to fill in the gap that you have in terms of languages, culture, maybe certain knowledge process gap that you can fill in. You have this time frame to use. This is a bit less important, but still important. But you can do that as well. We really want to prioritize logistic and finance first. Second, we want the human resource, the network, and also the communities that you would be able to join, or at least in terms of lifestyle. And then below that, you can really fill in the language gap, the cultural gap, and other type of things that are similar like that. Or maybe you want to learn more about the culture of the country, the food that they eat. So now that you have your timeline, it is very important to have this 1 year if you're planning to move in 1 year, 2 years. But then we're gonna narrow it down to what you need to do in the 3 months before moving. So those months are really important because that is the time that you're gonna really look for a job, because it takes quite some time to find a job and get sponsored and all of this process. So it also takes a lot of time to pick where are the neighborhood you want to live in, finding a house. It takes at least 2 months to do this, right? But for the job, you can start way ahead and have a kind of like deadline. Okay, I want to move in that time. You really have to have a specific dedicated plan for the 90 days. I don't recommend doing it straight away when you have your 1 year plan. I would just recommend you to have a list of things that you need to get done by the last 90 days. Those things can be, if you don't want to bring all of your stuff, it can be maybe quote all of the different place of the storage place that you can put your stuff, how much it's going to cost you. If you want to run a company, you need to open a company, you need to register somewhere. Look where is best place to register in the country you're going to move in or in the current country that you are. If you're like temporary, keeping your address there, you really have to look at those things and look also at the tax, at other like maybe benefit that you can have, or maybe some kind of like plan that you can join. So that is the perfect way to end that. The design phase was really used to have a bigger overall picture of what you want to achieve. And I really recommend you to go long term and then divide it midterm and short term. And that's where per each section or each area or each like part of the wheel of life or the had method, you will have the different areas that can help you achieve your goal of moving abroad and specifically designing that dream life. Another thing I wanted to mention is that a vision board. I'm someone that do vision board, but I have a specific method on how to do vision board and also how to implement and succeed in that. And I might do a dedicated video on that, but when you do a vision board, you're gonna integrate like this big goal that you have, you're gonna integrate it in the vision board. And so you're gonna divide the year in 4 or even 12 months. And for every time frame, you're gonna have mini goals that's gonna help you achieve your vision board. And you're gonna do regular revision of that vision board and of that goal. Everything is linked. You wanna dream, you want to build your dream life. You want to live your dream life. You want to enjoy your dream life. You need to work for it. You need to make it. It's not going to happen to you. You need to have the steps and follow the steps. Actionable plan. And that's how we're going to end at the designing phase. And now we're going to go into the actual actionable plan. We're going to do the hard work. I don't call it hard work because actually everything that you're doing, it is to achieve your goal, and it should be fun. It should be something that you know you're working toward, and this is only the best part. So this is the building phase, the development phase, the phase that's gonna change everything. Now you have everything on paper. It's time to act. It's time to really build that dream life. So how we're gonna do that? As I mentioned, you have this 90 days before that you leave. But before that, I really recommend 6 months to 1 year to have the actual moving date. So what we did, reverse engineer, right? But you will go and look at, okay, that is the deadline that I have. And you will have milestone. We'll take a very simple one, or at least one that is very fundamental. That's very critical. So it's very critical is the financial aspect. I often recommend to have an emergency fund as a separate thing that the moving abroad fund. Why? Because you can have an emergency abroad and the moving abroad fund is a completely different aspect. What you're going to have in the bucket of moving abroad fund is how you're going to cover all of the insurance, how you're going to cover all of the flight, how you're going to cover all of the deposit, how you're going to cover all of the upfront costs that you might have. Let's say if you need to semi-furnish your house, or things simple as, oh, you need to have bed sheet, you need to have pillows, you need to have curtain, or you need to buy new clothes, or you need to buy new shoes, or you need to buy new stuff to accommodate that new life, that may be things that you cannot bring. So this is the kind of pack that you're gonna have, and that pack is only the moving out pack. Within this moving out pack, I would tell you to have a separate pack of emergency fund. This is if something goes wrong, but that emergency fund should exist no matter what, even if you don't move abroad. That emergency can really help you at any circumstances, whether you're at home or whether you're abroad. You should have a bucket emergency fund. You should have a bucket moving abroad fund. Now you can have a third bucket. The third fund is living abroad without working. Why? I'm mentioning that because if you're moving abroad and you're gonna look for a job, it might take more than 1 month, right? It might take actually 2, 3, 4 months. And I recommend you to have that fund of cost for 2 to 6 months. But I really try to do my best when I can, of course. The other thing is that if you have a job secure already, aim for 2 months because you usually get paid at the end of the month, and then you have a lot of upfront costs that's going to be covered by the moving abroad fund. But there is always unexpected costs that you didn't see coming, that you didn't even know exist, that you didn't even know that you would need. Have that fund. This is very important. You don't want to mess up that part. So keep that in mind. 3 bucket, emergency fund, moving out fund, and living abroad fund. Those are 3 different funds that you're going to build over 6 months, a year, maybe more. Put a target every month. Split it. have, okay, that much money there. What I do is that I don't do first, I fill in my full emergency bucket and then I fill the other bucket, what they want. What I like to do is I like to split them. It is the same because at the end of the day, it's the same amount of money that I have. But I feel like I see all of the bucket reaching the goal that I have. Even, quick note, I put on my bank account like saving goals. So I even see in the bank app, like, oh, you're that much, you're 50% of your goal, you're like 60% of your goal, and then you achieve your goal. And that is like a motivation. Like, really keep those little things that's gonna help you achieve that big goal or financial goal. So when you're actually building it, this is how you're building it. Every effort that you make, like getting the financial ready. Financial really number one. You can't move out with $0. Some people can, but like I am not someone that is risk averse. I'm not gonna risk it. I have a fear of moving somewhere and then everything doesn't go according to plan, and then I need money to, I don't know, leave. I need to live in a hotel or I need to live in Airbnb. It costs money, and then you need to be able to afford that. I don't want to struggle. I don't want to fear every day. So I would rather postpone like 3 months and then having this extra amount of money than just move like short on money. It is also like a personal choice. But in this one, in this video, in this blueprint, I really want to give you a method that is going to give you peace of mind on top of having every kind of aspect secured. You can pick and choose what is less important for you. If for you, like the money aspect is less important, have the minimum emergency fund, moving out fund. That's it, right? But if for you it is very important, it helps you to feel safe, do it. Then now you're in that place where it's 6 to the time of moving or even 3 to the time of moving. I told you, you're really gonna bump up, like start to apply for the visa. It is better to be in advance. Think about those elements because you need a picture, you need maybe to get that document. I also recommend you, if possible, because in some country it is required, to try to get 1 month before you move your extract of your birth certificate or a document that you might need and that might be difficult to get online if you're already in the country. Think also about your certification, your diploma, your degrees. If you have degrees in another country, look at what are the equivalent. Is there equivalent, or do you need to do a procedure to have them recognized? If it's not recognized, and then if the what you've done is a certificate is in a different language, do you need to have a sworn translation so that if you get a job or even when you apply, you can directly provide the translated version? Those are things that you need to think. And in this windows of 6 to the B-Day, try to look also at the kind of like little skill or certificate that you can pass to really bump up your marketability, or you're offering all of the things in advance, because you don't want to move in the country and then now you need to like, oh, increase your skills or find this and that or do the translation. You want to have this like upfront. So when you move in the country, you have your mental space to do other things, to do things that is really important that you can only do when you're in the country. You can always in advance translate your degree, right? You don't need to be in a country and then decide to translate, especially if you know that you will need it. If you don't need it, that you don't want to spend the money, that's fine, but have everything's ready. Maybe find like places that you can do it in 1 or 2 days, have a kind of like a fund for that. If it's needed, then in a week you get it done, you have the link, you have everything. Planning is really a blessing. I really believe that. So if you research and planning, basically, this is the basis of how it's going to help you when you're going to actually build that dream life. That's going to help you. So now you've done it, you got it, you moved abroad. So when you move abroad, you're in this launching phase. Everything is brand new. I really recommend you to get a lot of things straight. One thing, before moving out, try to digitalize as much document as possible. I think I might make a video on that as well, like how I classify all of the document, all of the paper that I need on the drive, on the cloud, so that it can be accessible all the time. Like you have, for example, your vaccine certificate. You can have all of your degree. You can also have your portfolio if you have a portfolio available on the cloud. You can have a copy of your driving license. You should have everything that you need classified and organized in an online digital version. I even recommend to have both, one a hard drive or on your phone and one also online. But yeah, so once now you moved abroad and you're abroad, like the thing that you have to do is really you have to go through the process of doing all of the administration things, ideally 1 to 2 weeks, because you want to get everything ready. You want to have the bank account if you need it. You want to have a phone number. You want to have all of this ready. So I would say dedicate those first few days on doing that. If you have like plenty of money that you can spare, then you can also mix that between traveling a little bit and everything. But really, I recommend you to bulk everything. Like the first 2 weeks is really like you're moving abroad. Get everything that you need to have a basic life in terms of anything that you need for your house, if you're moving to a specific new house, all of the administrative things that you need to do. If you need to have, like, for example, in Korea, you have the alien card. If you need to get that, get it done as soon as possible. Whatever you need to do, get it done so then you have peace of mind. Then, within these 2 weeks, let's say you do that during the day, during the evening, try to go to meetups, go to some events, try to meet people straight away because people will give you the best information. People, they are also like expat, they've been through what you've been through, can help you find really like a good hangout place, find really good food, find good supermarket or where to buy food, where to buy this and that. But they can also help you on how to meet people, or what to do, or what are the little trick that only the expat know and then is not really necessarily shared online. Really, these first 2 weeks is really to get that out of the way and to start to have one or two acquaintances that you're like, oh, maybe we can meet up in a week or so. So I recommend the Meetup app, but there is also like Bumble Bestie, BF. It's called Bumble BFF, and it's a really great app to use. And on top of that, I think big cities have it. They have those community. I'm a woman, so I usually look at communities of women that organize event and they do activities, and those are also really good place to start to meet people and mingle with people. Yeah, now that you've already set, I really recommend you after those 3 weeks to really like settle in terms of your work. If you don't work yet, you really have to look, okay, I'm gonna finance that life abroad. And you can also look at, okay, locally what is needed. Maybe you have a job, but then you want to have another job in the new country that you are. If you're working remotely, maybe you want to integrate. So look at all of those things. It's really time to build that life. And it's also now time to build your home. This is really the moment that you're gonna look at, okay, what do I like and what I'm missing and where can I get it? Or what can I find alternative? For example, if you like to read in a cafe, try to find a few cafe in your place or near your work or in your place you hang out that you know you can go to. Or maybe you like specific style of bar where people just like to mingle. Try to look for those type of bars so you can just hang out and see. You need to find those places that's gonna be your go-to place, your go-to bakery. It's gonna be like your go-to bar, your go-to hangout place, your go like your gym. Like it is very important to find like a good gym that you like to go. Like I do pole dance, and for me, that's one thing I'm gonna look. I'm gonna look at all of the different studio, and I'm gonna try them all until I find the one that I like the most. Because this is part of building my dream life. Building my dream life is not just living abroad, having friends abroad, having a community that I can enjoy time with, having my workout done, having the good food that I like. All of these are in the beginning that you're trying to build. You can always add it after a few months, but the faster that you get started on that, the easier the transition is gonna be when you move abroad. Another thing I also recommend you to do is some type of documenting, whether it is a quick journal or a check-in for yourself, just to see a little bit of your progress. If you have your 10-year plans or some sort of smart goal, this is going to be very easy because you should have had some goals in that plan. Bear in mind that those goals can always change. If your life changes, if something change, those are updated, but always update them and always use that as a thread of, okay, how things are going. And that's going to be really nice as well later on to have, okay, this is what I've done, this is how it went. It can also help if you journal to reflect back, especially at the beginning. You have a lot of time because you don't know that many people and maybe you haven't started a job yet. So that is a part of the experience. I really recommend it. I haven't been so consistent on it, but what I do, for example, is that I video journal my year, and that is something that I would do as well if I move to another country, because after a while then you look back of, oh, 5 years ago, how was my year? And then you look at all of those moments and you're like, okay, it was worth it. All of the effort that I've done was definitely worth it. And now I can enjoy that life. And you can see how far you went and how far you were until where you are now. And that's amazing. And now we reach really the final point. The final point is to enjoy your life. Now you're living abroad, you have started to design everything, and you can really go in and enjoy, live your life, the life that you've built. You can also add like adjustment, right? So what we've done is that we made the plan to move abroad and have a kind of enjoyable life, comfortable life. Now you can fine tune. Now you can look at, okay, I have this new life now. This is my home. This is my new home. How do I make it my home? If you have a house, like how do you secure a long-term contract, or how do you buy a house? If you have work, like, okay, how do I build my career in that country, right? I'm not just like looking for a job just to have a job, just to pay my bills. I'm looking at a long-term path. If, for example, you're moving in this country and then you start working out, then you can be like, okay, how do I build like my healthy lifestyle, my balanced lifestyle, right? How do I regularly go see my friend, my family, or when I go back home, like to where I'm from? Those are things that you're gonna do in the enjoy process. The enjoy process is basically rounded it up. I also include the enjoy process to always have a look at your 10-year goals, like at your long term goals, because you can move abroad, but then maybe that was like the first step of moving abroad, and maybe you want to move in another place, or maybe, okay, you want to build like a specific life, right? Move like this video, this blueprint, and this framework is really like how do you push from where you are to where you want to go and enjoy that. But as we know in product lifecycle development, once you have something, you can always pivot, improve, update. And that's what you do in the enjoy life. You experience it, you go through it after a year, you've been through some event, right? So there is, if like you're in a country and in summer there is all those festival, you might have missed some of them because you didn't know about it. Now that you can plan ahead for next year, I'm gonna get a ticket in advance. Or around that time, let's say you're like Golden Week in Japan. Oh, that's the Golden Week in Japan. Maybe I can book in advance. Or if you are, let's say, in the tech industry and there is like all those very big event in Europe, and most of them happen here and there. And for example, you're from the US and you don't know when those things happening. Now that you've been around, you can plan ahead and basically improve like bit by that life that you already have, right? That you can be like, okay, I'm fine tuning everything. I'm getting to the top layers of adding the cherry to the cake. So I always recommend you do like annual review, you do a quarterly review, you look at where you are. This is how you build your dream life. There is so much I can talk about. I can talk about this forever. There's so many videos I'm willing to do on this topic, because in this channel, I really want to talk about like how are you gonna plan, design, build, and enjoy your dream life abroad. This is the essence of everything. This is what I've done. And I realize like how you can be so lost at the beginning, and you can be like, I don't know where to start. I don't know what to do. And now when you have a plan, then you have this target and you have steps on how to achieve it. And I swear that plan is really good. It's a proven strategy, and you can always pivot, change a little bit. So I will make video on how to plan, and for example, like how to do your digital vault in terms of the administrating paperwork, but also on specific deep dive on, for example, the 10-year plan method. And yeah, there is just so many topics I can talk about. But yeah, I hope you appreciate that first big, long video in terms of the framework and the blueprint. And I will add some link in the description if I have more videos already out. So that was for today's video, and I hope I'll see you next time. Bye.